Well, hello, everybody. I saw this article and it made me think of a couple things. I'm going to kind of go over it a little bit. This is going to be not a highly contested debate, but a thought provoking conversation. New York is one step closer to becoming the ninth state in the U.S. to ban wildlife killing contests. And that in and of itself sounds fantastic to a degree. To a degree. Um, I am somebody who enjoys hunting and fishing. I am not against the taking of an animal if you were going to use it. Um, if you're going to kill something, you better kill it for a reason and use it the whole thing. Like whether that you just don't go out killing sharks and finning them and throwing the rest back. Like there needs to be regulation. There needs to be like you can't just go and kill everything in sight just because you want to. You can't just like if you're out hunting, at least with like laws in Florida, I'm sure it's like this in other places. If a coyote comes across your path, you're allowed to kill it just because it's a coyote, and there's a lot of them. Whether or not that's ethical or not, like most of the people don't do anything except for kill the coyote. There are reasons for it to an extent. They're not necessarily their, their range has expanded beyond their historic range, and so like coyotes are basically everywhere now when they weren't. And the reason they weren't is because like we killed off all the wolves, which were kind of keeping them back, and now they're in like the middle of New York City. Like Central Park has coyotes, and like Florida, in like my hometown, in the middle of Pinellas County. If anyone knows, there's millions of people in the Tampa Bay area. There are coyotes in every square inch of it. In the middle of the city, like it's nuts. They are able to live among people pretty easily. And then in areas where people farm, as an example, and they kill, there's no risk of coyotes going extinct anytime soon. And so people go and kill them. And I can understand the reasoning behind it. I may not like it as much, but like, there's a reason people killing it besides going out and just killing them for fun. With that being said, um, last week New York legislators passed a bill, blah, 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 to ban cruel and ecological destructive wildlife killing contests in the state. This includes events in which participants compete for cash and prizes to kill the most, largest, or smallest of targeted wildlife species, including coyote, foxes, squirrels, and raccoons. The bill now heads to Governor Kathy Hochul's desk to be signed into law. Killing contests occurred despite our planet undergoing a biodiversity crisis in which wildlife populations have plummeted by more than two-thirds in the last 50 years, which is sadly driven primarily by human activities. In the face of the ecological crisis, killing contests are directly contributing to the mass loss of wildlife, including species serving key ecological roles in our ecosystem, all which incentivize the killing with cash and prizes. This is very, this article is very misleading because they're not killing animals that are like in danger. Like all these animals listed below are just animals that people don't want to be killed. They're not in any danger, at least in the areas that they're being killed, of going extinct. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. This is this like what they're upset about is more along the lines of we just don't want people killing animals rather than understanding that there's a reason that a lot of these animals are being killed, and if they were endangered or threatened in any way, these things would not be happening regardless. But in the air, but they are managed properly to an mostly like a lot of these animals are. We recommend New York legislators for the leadership on voting on outlaw egregious and unscientific wildlife killing contests. Carnivore conservation advocate and Project Coyote and Real Wilding Institute. During an extinction crisis with wildlife populations around the world plummeting, indiscriminate killing of wildlife for prizes is ethically indefensible, ecologically reckless, and runs counter to the sound wildlife conservation management. This important legislation will help bring New York's wildlife management into the 21st century, but it won't. That's not true. It's not like just because you kill one species of animal in a contest, like a coyote or a raccoon, does not mean that it's directly contributing to the fall of animals all across the world. It'd be one thing if there was a contest to go and kill gopher tortoises, like, or owls, or something that is like that can't sustain the hunting regulations. Like around the country, you are not supposed to kill birds of prey, as an example. Raptors, that includes owls, hawks. It's federally illegal to do so because there's they can't rebound like a lot of these other animals can. Depending on where you are in the country, like in Florida, you cannot even touch a feather on a sandhill crane, otherwise you're in big trouble. But in Texas, they have hunting seasons, and it's like a big thing because there's plenty of them in those areas, and like the populations don't mix. Red snapper, as an example, there's a lot of controversy with that, but like in Florida, like there's a very short season recreational, like they have the reasoning for allowing people to kill them and allowing them not to, allowing the harvest and not allowing the harvest. um, as public attitudes shift and increasing scientific understanding of wildlife dynamics continue to develop, advocates, state agencies, and legislators around the country are moving quickly to end these contests. And like going out as an example to the rattlesnake roundups. Rattlesnakes are on the decline. Like they, around the country, their populations are being decimated because people indiscriminately kill them constantly. Like no one cares about snakes, no one cares about the regulation. Most people don't even know the rules behind it. People kill pine snakes, or whatever. If they don't know what they're looking at, they're going to kill them, and they don't understand that certain species are in trouble, and the state doesn't do anything to let people really know that. And the state doesn't really care because rattlesnakes bad, or whatever, the snake's bad in general. So like that, it depends on the animal because these are cute fluffy animals. That's the only reason why these people care. But if there was rattlesnake roundups in New York, do you think they would really care? If people go out and blow off a timber rattlesnake's head in New York, do you think there's going to be any outcry about it? If there was a timber rattlesnake in Central Park, do you think anyone would care if that snake was its head was chopped off with a shovel? No. But if a fox was out there with rabies and you killed it, do you think people would have probably have an outcry? Probably. Um, if signed the law, New York is on track to become the ninth state to ban wildlife killing contests. Vermont, New Mexico, Maryland, Arizona, Massachusetts, Colorado, California, Washington, and Oregon is also in the process of outlawing the horrific contest. Of federal legislation was introduced last year to ban wildlife killing contests on federal public lands. Okay, with that being said, native carnivores like coyotes play a vital role in ensuring the health of New York's forests and pastoral ecosystems. Coyotes provide natural services to our ecosystems by removing sick animals from the gene pool, restricting transmission of zoonotic disease such as Lyme disease, and protecting a ground nesting birds by limiting populations of mesocarnivores that prey on birds and consuming their eggs. Coyotes eat baby birds and their eggs. Like you're not. That's not a good argument. You don't know anything about coyotes apparently. Um, and like the coyote killing contests also threaten wolf recovery because of the similarities between large eastern coyotes and wolves and the increasing likelihood that endangered wolves may be killed. Wolves are listed as endangered species under both federal and New York state law, and the killing of wolves is prohibited in New York. In December of 2021, a large canid that was shot near Cooperstown was confirmed by subsequent DNA analysis to be 98% gray wolf. Coyote killing contests award prize is to the largest coyote killed, thereby increasing the chances that endangered wolves may be killed. And I can understand that argument a little bit, but it's coyotes saying that they play the integral role. They have expanded drastically. I don't know the exact range if coyotes originally were in New York, but my guess is that they probably weren't because wolves were probably there. So it's a very odd situation. Now, with all of this being said, I want to take you to something and show you something that shows my argument in a different light. Python killing challenge. In Florida, we have the invasive species known as the Burmese python, and there is a challenge to go out and kill as many of them as possible. And there's a cash prize. Now, you might be saying, but they're eating all of the native stuff. They are. They definitely need to be culled and taken care of. I am not arguing with that. Regardless of how I feel about the situation, and it's would be better for the ecosystem if they weren't there. I completely agree. But the way that the laws are in place make it very difficult for just the average ordinary person to go and do it. They 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 use this as a money grab. People sign up for this thing. They pay a bunch of money to enter into this contest, and it's like it's a new way for the state to make money. Like I get that part of it. But like this, if this was in New York and there were pythons in New York, I'm sure they would be like, no, well, we're gonna leave that because it's a snake. Um, the Everglades is filled with pythons, and last week 950 hunters tried to kill them. The Python Challenge is a state-sponsored hunt for one of Florida's biggest invasive headaches, the Burmese pythons. At a python check station in Miami on the edge of the Everglades, Donna Khalil has just brought in her day's catch, turning over to Holly at blah blah blah. Where'd you find them? He was close to the Burns Lake right off 41. Little guy. Yeah, he's a little guy. This is the time of year pythons are hatching and leaving the nest. This is one of the just a few months old, but is already over 2 feet long. Um, I know that I had a set of skills to be able to help. I've been catching snakes all my life. I'm a herper. From being a kid, my brother were herpers as well, and I followed in their footsteps. Cleo's proud of her career total. She's brought more than 600 pythons so far, working mostly at night, driving along the levees and roads in the Everglades with their SUV with specially designed python perch mounted on top. I have two volunteers that sit up there. I have lights all around, and we're basically just driving along. Once we see a python along the way, somebody yells python. I stop the car, get out, and I sneak up behind it and grab it by the neck and start wrestling. Khalil says that this is a good time of year to be hunting pythons. She says they're on the move, and you might find a big one crossing road or levee. The biggest one I caught was around 16 feet. Um, they kill a bunch of animals. Let's see. Major question is still not answered about pythons is how many are there in Florida? They're very difficult to spot in the wild, and most of the several thousand square miles of the Everglades is inaccessible except for airboat. Kirkland says human detection and removal has been the most effective way to combat pythons. In some areas near Everglades National Park, rabbits, possums, and other small mammals that have been wiped out by the snake have begun to return. At the check station, Joaquim Villa has just brought in his catch, another python hatchling. Villa says at least in that area where they can get access, he believes he and other hunters are putting a dent in the python population. The other day we were walking out there and we saw about 8 deer, and some other guys that have been out there, they're like, man, I haven't seen that many in a while, so I think it may be making a difference. Between contractors, novice hunters, and state-sponsored competition, more than 17,000 pythons have been removed over the last 20 years. That could be good news if we had some idea of how many pythons were out there. We have no idea how many pythons are out there. I don't know. This kind of competition is okay in their eyes, but it's still killing these animals. And I, if this was really as big of a problem as the state makes it out to be, you would let anybody at any point in time in anywhere kill a python if they found it, but they don't. If I go into Everglades National Park as a regular person and catch and kill a python, even touch one, I'm in big trouble. Unless they change the laws, but they don't. You know why? Because they make a bunch of money on shit like this. And when I say they, I mean the state. It's a lot of hypocrisy. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think I'm off base here? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check out my Discord. Link will be in the description below. We're having fun in there. And I will see you on the next one. Stay wild.